Greetings, howdy howdy. I'm Chip. I'm not sure if this is going up on Chillin' with Chip or CP59 Fit or both, because I am chilling in Denver at the Gaylord Rocky Mountain Resort or something like that. And I am here for a low carb Denver 2023 conference. I'm here with a lot of really healthy people, and I don't know if I enjoy being around them or if I enjoy being a healthy person. I've lost so much weight I actually almost feel like I fit in with the healthy crowd now. I'm going to circle around. I'm not going to necessarily stay because I'm going to be in the dark, but I want to show you the Rocky Mountains and downtown Denver, which is kind of hidden in the clouds. If you look real hard, you may see it in the background. And they kind of go around Denver, I guess, and then here's the resort. I've had the pleasure of meeting and getting a photo with lots of doctors that are kind of my heroes. I watch them on YouTube, and there's a couple of just plain old YouTubers here, influencers. I don't know that I fall into that. These guys have millions of subscribers, and I got like 135, if that many. Well, there's a little cottontail going under that truck down there. You even see wildlife in the middle of the snow. Anyway, I'm having a great time. I just wanted to get a little clip. Oh, I was going to tell you about the doctors. I have met and had a very substantial talk with Dr. Eric Westman from the Duke Keto Clinic. He is I guess the medical director there. I don't know if you can see me. I can't hardly see looking right into the sun, so I'll turn a little bit. And Dr. Sean Baker, who I think coined the phrase carnivore diet. Dr. Peter Bruckner from Australia, who is on the Low Carb Down Under channel, and also the founder and director of Defeat Diabetes Australia, which I have been a member of for about a year and a half now. They give a lot of good education and information. Who else have I met? Of course, all of the Adapt Your Life Academy staff, which includes nutritionist Amy Berger, who's getting ready to give a talk, so I'm going to wrap this up and go there. But I just wanted to let me do a loop the other way, just so you can see this neat resort again. There's even a little area down here. On a nice day like today, it would be nice to sit out there now that most of the snow has melted. Not all of it, but I did run home for lunch, and the driveway and the sidewalks, and I could see were dry, and I could see most of the grass, and it looks like artificial turf. Maybe that's the answer in a 55 plus community. I'm having a blast. I hope you can. Oh, my biggest comment on Facebook when I posted full-length pictures today was that I need to get smaller clothes, and I agree. This is from my mission trip in 1996 with Christian Sports Outreach International. I went to the Czech Republic, and then I went back to the Czech Republic for 13 months out of a 3-year period. And this sweater fit me in December of 1996 when it was given, and I just found it in storage when I was getting ready to look for some warm clothes for this trip. I probably don't need it now that it's actually above freezing here, but yesterday was, I think, a high of 10, and we started at -4. So and tomorrow's supposed to be about 50, so I'll make some more footage then. Just checking in from the first day of Low Carb Denver 2023. Greetings and welcome to my channel. I'm Chip. This channel is CP59 Fit. My second channel is Chillin' with Chip. I made a video from my house to the clubhouse here, and I was going to tell you about the conference, but I got rambling about the area. So this video is going on CP59 Fit. If you are a subscriber, thank you very much. If you're not and you've just been watching, thank you very much for that also. Please do hit the subscribe button down below. Hit the like button, the unlike button, whatever you want, and leave me a comment, please. This is going to be a recap of my Low Carb Denver 2023. I hope I don't have the sun behind me the whole time. But anyway, if you do, just turn the volume up and black the screen out. Maybe I'll just do more of the scenery instead of trying to have me in it all the time. But anyway, I attended Low Carb Denver 2023 Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. And oh boy, did I learn a lot, and I am going to share it all with you. I am in the process of rewatching the whole conference. We have access to videos for at least 6 months. And so I'm going to get through them all within a week at least. You know, it's 8 hours a day, so that's at least 24 hours worth of video. And I think they're going to add in the what do you call those, the breakout sessions, which I didn't attend any of them, and I did miss some of the real sessions because I was coming back and forth to walk the dogs at lunch, and we kind of skipped out of the Q&As because it was a long 3 days, and I had a long 3 days on the train getting here. But it started out with I don't know who it started out with, but I'll just tell you some of the highlights. I've met most of my heroes off of YouTube here, at least the North American ones and a couple of the Australian ones. I was really surprised to see, I'm going to cover this up because the wind is getting strong. Hope it doesn't make it too hard to hear me. They said it was only going to be 6 miles an hour today. I think we had 40 miles an hour the last few days. Let me see if I can tuck it in here so it's a little bit out of the wind. Maybe put it up on this collar. And sorry. How about I just cup it in my hand and hold it? I hope that's better. I can hear the wind whistling in my ears. But anyway, I guess the real highlight was I got to meet Nina Tychols, who did the Big Fat Surprise book and videos all over YouTube, who also founded the Nutrition Coalition to get some science put into the USDA food guidelines. For some reason, they review the science, and then they say it's strong, and then they go with their own recommendations, especially about low-carb diets. So I offered to help her, or to join forces, with my political experience and my contacts with many of the Texas contingent in Congress. I photographed them all at some point in my career. This is not working too well. Let me try to get it attached up here, because I know you're not getting a good video. But they actually say that the sound is more important than that the audio is better than the video as far as people watching it. I'll let you see some of the houses. So anyway, she was agreeable. She said I'd be a great asset. So now I just wait to hear from her as I reach out to more and more of my political connections to see how we can best get some science into the food guidelines that we have exported to the world and made everybody fat and sick. It's a shame that they have to feed our military off of these guidelines, and they're basically too fat to fight at this point. Too fat to even get enlisted. That's a damn shame. Not that we need to be a big military country, but we should have a strong fighting force. Every country should, I think. And we've exported this stupid food pyramid with no science behind it, made everybody fat and sick off of carbohydrates that are cheap and plentiful. There's a lot more behind that, but let me tell you more about the conference. I gotta pause it, I gotta cough. Of course, since I'm walking, I don't have a drink with me. It's hard enough to hold this tripod and keep the microphone decent. Oh, and the air is a little bit thinner up here, so I'm gonna pause for just a minute. We'll turn the camera this way, let you see the golf course. This is the Green Valley Ranch Golf Club in the middle of a 55 plus community, private community. It's not gated or anything. They have some signs up about something being a covenant community or covenant protected community. I'm not sure what that means. I don't know if it means covenant in the deeds or covenant between the people. I should look it up before I talk about it. But some of the, other than meeting Nina, which was a highlight, and she even was, after her speech, she was, people always go up to the speaker, which is a nice thing about this smaller convention. About 1,000 people in the room, and the speakers just sat in the audience, after they were finished, and always were talking in a small group of people for an hour or more after their talk. But she actually looked at me. I kind of said hi as she was walking out to the lobby, and I'm Chip, the one that's been texting you, and she looked at the last couple of people and said, "Oh, I need to talk to Chip real quick. I'll be right back with you." So I thought that was super special, that I don't even know her, and she's recognized my name and my the asset I can provide to her nonprofit. And I will be happy to do that. Big shout out to Representative Zedler for saving my life almost 8 years ago. And all those people that said God's not finished with you yet, so let's sit back and see what he's going to do by my willingness to listen and work with somebody else. But then I also got to meet many of my heroes, Dr. Bruckner, Dr. Westman, who many of you have heard me reference and is actually on my video about keto doctors I trust. I'm going to turn for this flag flying in the, I guess it's somebody's backyard. I would say maybe this house. I can't tell from this angle what side of the fence it's on, or if they even have a fence between these two houses. Yeah, they do, and it's the other one. I think that's a private residence. I don't think it's a clubhouse. But here I am. I'm going to go back across the golf course. So I'll keep an eye out for balls, but there haven't been many golfers out here. Would you golf in a 40-degree weather with a 6 or 8 mile an hour wind at a mile high golf course? I guess it's a mile high. We're in Denver. They call that the Mile High City. But anyway, the first person I met and got a picture with, which you've seen if you're on my private Facebook or even if you're on the Instagram, CP59Fit Instagram, was Dr. Eric Westman from Duke. Of course, I was just in that area for 2 months, but I didn't bother to try to get a appointment with him since I knew I was going to be meeting him at this conference. Got to pause again. I blew my nose and caught my breath. This is the first real walk I've done without the dog, so I'm moving at a little bit brisker pace than I normally do. And I can tell I'm having more difficulty catching my breath. But that's one thing I talked to Dr. Westman about, was the protocol I put myself on to cut out the seed oils and go 100% carnivore this year to try to open up that fully occluded internal right carotid artery. And I mentioned Dr. Nally, Doc Muscles on Instagram if you want to follow him, and the announcement he had made about the 72-year-old man in Arizona that had reverse stenosis in his internal left carotid artery. And Dr. Westman was not aware, that it had been done. He mentioned that on one of our calls in the group when I was in Durham, or outside of Durham. He says, well, I know Adam. I'll just give him a call and ask him, and maybe we can get that published. So, score for Dr. Westman for taking the hint. I really wanted his opinion on it. I really wanted him to know about it because he will only comment on stuff that he knows is backed by science and research. That's one thing I really like about him. I'm trying to follow that model. The other thing I liked about Dr. Westman was he was approximately my size. Not a gym rat, but fit. And I'm a little bit overweight still, and I don't know that Dr. Westman was, but he wasn't a Sean Baker or an Adam Chaffee that was big muscle guy. Kind of Dr. Bruckner was kind of similar. He's a sports physician, so he's not flabby or anything. He's a bit older than I am. I don't know if Eric is older than I am or not, but about my age range. So I feel like I'm doing pretty good if I'm in the same general shape. Fit, I don't mean shape like getting in shape. I mean build, as the doctors that have been doing this for 20 years after their medical studies. Dr. Westman is a legend in this field, and I'm sorry they didn't have him speaking. They had Amy Berger speak, who's also with Adapt Your Life Academy, and she spoke on thyroid, which was a unique choice, but that's what she's going into. We got some other residents with their dogs coming by. Try not to get them in the video too much, so I'll keep it out on the golf course. It was nice to meet Amy also after we'd been texting and Facebooking for probably a couple of years. She was in the first cohort of Keto Made Simple I did with Dr. Westman that ended in 2001. But and Liza and Glenn's from South Africa. He's also on Dr. Westman's staff. He does a lot of the video and photography. So they were very excited to know that I'd been a photographer prior to what I do now. I don't think Liza knew it anyway. They're like, I knew you were a police officer, but I didn't know you had been a photographer. Hello. Just paused briefly to let a couple go by. Now this is the row of houses that I'm staying in. I'm going to walk along the golf course at the back, go up there to the end, and then come down the front. Since I started at the front in the other video, y'all haven't seen that. Who else did I meet? Dr. Peter Bruckner from Australia, who's a driving force in the low carb down under channel. And then he also created the Defeat Diabetes program, Australia, which is sort of kind of like Verta Health in this country, except you're not monitored on an app. They do have a dietitian, they have doctors, they have him and Dr. Paul Mason, who is another hero I want to meet one day, but he didn't come to this conference. And I'm surprised Dr. Bruckner and Dr. Chaffee did. Actually, Dr. Chaffee was not on the speaking schedule, even though he is scheduled, I think, for San Diego in the fall, which I'm already booked somewhere, I believe, for a house sit, so I won't be able to go to that one. But he's one of those big. Dr. Sean Baker, who I also met and got a photo with, was a surgeon in the U.S. Air Force, and he and Dr. Chaffee both kind of look like the Incredible Hulks. Of course, Chaffee being from Australia, he came in tan. He has his beautiful girlfriend who I just reached out to on Instagram. She liked my comment, so I now know her name. I was rather rude. I should have introduced myself to her when I asked him for a photo. But then they did have me take one of them. This is the backyard of the house that I'm staying in. They closed in their patio, screened in the patio and put a door on it. Now they call it a catio. And that pine tree, I think it's a fir or spruce actually, up this high in elevation, is lit up with little solar lights at night. It's very pretty. There are dogs on both sides, and then they got 2 dogs and 4 cats. But I'm going to go on through the end and come around the front so I can finish telling you about this wonderful conference. I guess all I'm telling you at this point is who I met, but they all gave fantastic talks. Speaking of fantastic talks, I met Dave Feldman and Shaban Huggins, which is his kind of assistant, and they're citizen scientists, and David has just gotten permission and started a study on lean mass hyperresponders, which I was before I got healthy. That basically means, well, I wasn't lean, I was a fat mass hyperresponder, and it basically means your lipids are out of whack. You have too high of triglycerides and too low of HDL. So he got a study that was costing around $1,000 a person, and he got 100 people involved in a university of some sort, I think out in California, to do all the tests. And he had the first initial results. He wasn't able to share a lot because, of course, it has to be peer reviewed and all that, but he was doing fantastic work. Nina's speech was, even though I'd heard both of them on YouTube many, many times, and even though they said a lot of the same things in person, it was great to hear them again, and I did learn an awful lot. So let me tell you a little bit. I'm sure there were other doctors that I took pictures with. Dr. Gerber, the guy that put it together, amazing conference. Thank you, Dr. Gerber. And I'll have to think back through my photos. I met Brian Sanders from Austin of the Food Lies documentary. He's had some health problems too, but he's looking very good. I don't mean he had health problems on this diet. The reason he found this way of eating was health problems. And and there were a couple other YouTubers, Thomas Delore. Oh, I can't remember his last name now. And then Mike with Fundamental Health, something. 2 big YouTubers, much bigger than me. So I asked them for advice, and basically they said what everybody else does, just be consistent. So I'm being consistent out here in the cold. But let me tell you what I learned about me and my doctors and why I think I'm right on this, even though they were right at the beginning. Many of you know I had a stroke 7.5 years ago, almost to the day. Is today the 5th of, no, the day I go home will be 7 years, 6 months to the day. It'll be February 5th. The stroke was August 5th. So 6 months is half a year. And anyway, they said I would be on a statin the rest of my life. Some of the doctors at this conference, some of the cardiologists, had a more liberal view of what statins could do for you than most of the other doctors. In fact, one research doctor had said nobody needs to be on a statin, and then a cardiologist comes up and, oh, I like statins, they have some benefits. And so I've learned that statins can have some benefits for certain people. And I did get to talk to Dr. Westman about this also, of course not as medical advice, just as in generalities, hypothetical situations, and the hypothetical happened to be my situation. And I was pleased with his answer that by going carnivore and cutting out, he doesn't really comment on the seed oil type of stuff. And this is the front of the house I'm staying at. I said in the other video that they are of Ukrainian ancestry. I don't think they were born in Ukraine. I think maybe their parents or grandparents. So they have the Ukrainian flag up, and they've got lots of symbolism here. But back, I'm going to walk on down to the clubhouse on this side of the golf course where they have weights and stuff. It's actually part of the YMCA of Denver County. I notice that's who you call in an emergency. I have a key fob to get me into either or both of them. But Dr. Westman said that even though he does consider statins beneficial in certain cases, and one of those cases is if you've already had a stroke, he also said that the changes I've made in my diet might have more benefit to me to reduce stroke in the future than taking a statin would. And since I'm kind of opposed to taking statins, I'm not changing my mind on it yet, but that was the reason I wanted to get into him. If I could get in Duke to see him. He's an associate professor and researcher at Duke University, so he has to be spot on when he makes comments out at these public things. And I'm not saying he gave me any kind of medical advice. He just said that, carnivore could have more benefits. And he's not a big fan of carnivore, and he's a bigger fan of statins than I am. So I took that as a good answer for my particular situation, even though he wasn't necessarily aware that it was my situation. So no medical advice, and I don't give any medical advice. I'm not a doctor. I'm not a scientist, even though I do have a bachelor's of science. But I say all that because as I go to these conferences, as I learn more, as there's more research done, something I said in the past, you might look back and say, well, you said this, and I did, and it was right. It's what I believed at the time. And now that I have more information, it may or not be my true thinking right at the moment. So anyway, basically I'm saying things can change as more information and more knowledge comes out. Somebody's coming, so I'm going to pause for a minute. So I'm approaching the other clubhouse, so there's a little bit of foot traffic. I will go past it, and then I'll show you the teaching gardens across the cul-de-sac. Across the road here, which happens to kind of be on a cul-de-sac. So anyway, you can watch the older videos. They have some good information in them, but they may not be the most up-to-date. And that's another reason I really like Dr. Westman, is because he will only say stuff that's been documented. There's the flags of this area, the U.S. flag, Colorado flag, and all the military branches on another flag. And this is the fitness clubhouse. The one across the golf course that I started at was the hot tub and indoor swimming pool clubhouse. And they have a meeting room over there where you can play poker and have potlucks and stuff. The second night I went, somebody was having a potluck or something. Oh my goodness, it smelled good, but it wasn't mine. And it probably wasn't stuff I should be eating. So this is the, you can rent a spot here and have a raised bed garden. Wonder why they don't have a cover on that that little pavilion. They got a couple of benches. Maybe I'll go over there and sit down a spell. My fingers are so dry here, it doesn't really push the buttons on the screen very well. So if you saw me pushing it 2 or 3 times, it's because it wouldn't pause. But I am now on one of those benches I just showed you, and maybe the reason they don't have a cover is it's like a canvas cover or something they only put on in the summer when they're having stuff out here. But I sat on this bench so the sun would be in my face and not on the lens. But I'll show you, they have raised beds like this on both sides, and then they have the ones in the metal tubs at the end. Hadn't seen that before. I guess HW brand is maybe who donated them or they bought them from. But apparently the residents here can rent a plot and grow either flowers or vegetables in the summer if they want to. And with that, I'm going to wrap this video up and say thank you for watching. And I am planning to go on the low carb cruise in 2024, and I might go to the low carb conference in Boca in January. I think the cruise is May, June, or July. It's summertime. There'll be a bunch of kids or younger people along, which could be nice. I didn't have any on the last cruise, but I have just emailed a couple of my loyal supporters to see if they wanted to go with me. Of course, it's open to anybody. You can go to lowcarbevents.com and see all the low carb events that Keto Chow is familiar with. It's somebody that helps run or own Keto Chow that manages that website, because they go to a lot of the events and try to sell their products. Anyway, that's all for today. Again, I'm Chip. This channel is CP59Fit. I hope you found some value out of it. If you did, please subscribe and hit that like button below. Signing off. God bless. I'm in Colorado. I'll see you soon.